For my intention before attending the AFU Cancun event in 2025, I asked myself, what would my life be like if I did the one thing that scared me the most? And that was to put my past behind me, along with all the beliefs and the behaviors that went along with this past life. I have been living in survival mode for pretty much all of my life. When I was 7 years old, I was sexually abused. And when they found out, they told me it was my fault. And so I lived with that belief that I was a bad person. And I was also physically and mentally abused and was told not to share any of this with anyone outside of the home. And so I learned not to talk about what was going on inside of me. And what I did was I put all of my energy into being successful and smiling and being kind. And I thought that was the way out of what I was dealing with internally. To the outside world, I was athletic, intelligent, and successful. But on the inside, I felt like I was being tormented, and I felt utterly alone and separated from the rest of the world because I was living in two separate worlds and no one knew what was going on inside of me. And I had no way to communicate how I was feeling. I have struggled with eating disorder, depression, and anxiety, and I've had a serious addiction to cutting for pretty much most of my life. Very few people know that I have struggled with these things because I have done a very good job of hiding it and smiling and always being available for other people. When I was 35, I was sexually assaulted by a person that was very close to me, and it broke me and it crushed my world and everything came crumbling down. For most of my life, I have struggled with inappropriate sexual behavior towards me. I did not know or have any idea that this was a pattern that I had learned. It took me many, many, many years to understand that it wasn't my fault, that it was simply a pattern that I had learned from a very, very, very young age. When this happened, my world crumbled and I didn't trust anyone, and the secret was pretty much too much for me to bear. So I did the only thing that I knew how to do, and that was to run away and hide. And I retreated into a very dark world of my psyche. I tried to kill myself 3 times, and my cutting addiction was very dangerous, that I was put in an inpatient facility for about 3 years. And during that time, I was unable to speak about anything that had been happening in my life. And so when I got to inpatient care, I had to first, what I did was I learned to draw. And then from the drawing, I could talk about my inside and internal feelings. And that was my beginning to learning how to speak about what was happening inside of me. I slowly learned to look at my patterns and my beliefs, and I started to take apart the parts of me that were no longer serving me, that kept me trapped in a world that I despised. In May of 22, I went to my first Dr. Joe Dispenza event, and to be honest, I went simply to see about this guy and see if what he was saying was really true and legit. At that time, I trusted very few people, and I just wanted to learn and to see if what other people were saying was really true. Since then, I have been to 7.5 events. Each time I have learned something about myself. I have struggled with every possible mental barrier in my way. Physically, I have been extremely uncomfortable in many of the events. I have sat in events and argued in my head with Dr. Joe saying, no, I'm the one exception. I have even left an event in the middle of the night because I could not stand to be with myself, and I could not stand to live in this like turmoil anymore. And so I did the one thing that I knew how to do, which was to run away. After I did that, I had to sit with myself and really look at what I had been doing and what parts of me I wanted to change, and ended up going back to an event. And every event I would learn a little bit more about myself, and I would struggle with myself a little more. There was no magic in my healing. It happened slowly over time and through tremendous struggle through each event. In Dallas of 22, I was a healee, and in that event, I felt so unworthy of receiving anyone's love that I laid there and I gave all my love to my healers, and I pushed any love that was coming towards me away because I did not feel that I was worthy of anything more or less to be loved by someone else. Through almost all of the Dr. Joe events that I've been to, I've really struggled with the word surrender. And in struggling with the word surrender, I would think to myself, how can a person who has never really known love, who has never really been able to relax in their life, who has been so traumatized that I live in a constant state of fear for the next bad thing that's going to happen, how am I ever supposed to let go and just accept and surrender? And pretty much at every event, that is what I really struggled with. I didn't understand the concept. It was like speaking gibberish to me. It didn't make any sense no matter who I asked or what answer I got. I always had, but I don't understand. And I really struggled with this for a very, very, very long time. Then when I was in Cancun, just in 2025, somehow it just all clicked. And it hit me that my past was over, and my past has been over for a very long time, but until you really sit and think about it, you think it's not over. My healing didn't happen in Cancun. It was manifested in Cancun. But it started about 3 years ago when I slowly started to hear a different message. And I struggled with my addiction to my story in every way that I kept it alive through my thoughts and my behaviors. It was what I said to myself, what I heard from other people. And it's only when I started to challenge these beliefs that things started to shift. Everything started to happen slowly. And then at the last coherence healing, before the last healing, I went and I sat by myself and I started to ask myself, do I really want to let my past go? Because if I really want to let my past go, that means I have to let all my behaviors, all my excuses, everything, I had to let it go. And in doing that, I was leaving the safety of my story. I was going to go somewhere where I didn't know what was going to happen. And I didn't know if I was going to be safe. And I had to ask myself, is that really what I'm ready to do? And it was a really scary moment for me to really ask myself, do I really want to let this go for the last time? Am I done with this story? So what I did was I thought of all the really, really worst moments, and I thought to myself, this is what I'm letting go. This is the pain that I'm letting go. So after the healing, my healers were eager to ask me how it was. I hesitated and I stuttered because that's what I do, because I struggle with my words. And they didn't know anything about this. They didn't know that I have not been able to communicate anything that I really struggle with, and that I put on a fake facade and I smile and I distract from me. They didn't know any of this. And so in that moment, they asked me, well, you don't have to share. It's okay. And I hesitated and I stuttered and I said, no, I do have to share this. I do have to share my insides. I am not lost. My old behaviors and patterns are just old behaviors and patterns. I do need to speak my truth. And for this experience, I am truly grateful. I am grateful for the whole experience, for all of the struggles, and for all of the victories that I have and will have in the future. Every experience, whether it was positive or negative, has brought me to this moment where I now know that I am worthy to receive love. I now know that my voice can be heard and I can speak my truth. So for this, I am truly grateful. I am grateful for Dr. Joe, for him having the courage to go before us and show us the way. For all of Encephalon and their staff, you guys do a tremendous job. For my healers in October of 22, I believe, when I wasn't ready to receive. And for the healers of Cancun of 25, where I was able to receive your love. And I will not squander that love, but I will use my voice to help other people. And that is the reason why it's so important for me to make this video, because it is only the beginning. And I want to thank everyone that was a part of my journey. You are forever in my heart, and I will forever be grateful, and I will never forget. So thank you.